African nations, in particular, have often found themselves on the receiving end of these punitive measures. Recently, we witnessed the West impose sanctions on Uganda, Niger, Gabon, and the Central African Republic, effectively removing them from the US-led African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Their crime? Choosing to follow a path that best served their national interests, rather than bowing to Western directives. As expected, the response was swift and punishing, sanctions aimed at forcing compliance. This raises a fundamental question. Why don't African nations impose sanctions on Western countries? The West consists of 52 countries, including the US, Canada, and European nations, while Africa boasts 54 sovereign states. What would happen if African nations collectively turned the tables and imposed stringent sanctions of their own? Sanctions have long been used as an alternative to direct military action, a method of economic warfare designed to cripple economies and coerce nations into submission. Yet, when African leaders remain aligned with Western interests, they often evade sanctions, even when accused of corruption or presiding over human rights abuses. However, the moment a leader dares to challenge the status quo, they suddenly find themselves sanctioned under the pretext of democracy, governance, or security concerns. This pattern underscores a crucial point. Africa must reassess its relationship with the West and assert its sovereignty. The legitimacy of African institutions is at stake if they continue serving as mere extensions of Western influence rather than acting in the interest of their own people. After enduring decades of foreign interference, Africa must reverse the tide. A bold new strategy could involve sanctioning former colonial powers for their historical exploitation of the continent, responding with counter-sanctions against nations imposing unjust penalties on Africa, and holding foreign entities accountable for their role in assassinating African leaders. Likewise, African nations could sanction those responsible for destabilizing the continent, whether through military intervention, economic sabotage, or political manipulation. The continuous plundering of Africa's mineral wealth by Western corporations must also be met with economic resistance. If foreign nations exploit African resources while imposing restrictions on African economies, why should Africa continue granting them unfettered access? Add your voice to the total liberation of Africa by leaving a comment in the comments section below. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more informative videos like this one. Let's proceed. Beyond economic measures, Africa must rethink its entire diplomatic approach. It's time to diversify partnerships, moving away from over-reliance on Western nations and forging stronger alliances with emerging powers such as Russia, China, and other Asian and Latin American nations. The goal is not isolation but strategic engagement with partners who respect African sovereignty rather than dictate its policies. Proposals include implementing reciprocal travel bans, expelling corporations that exploit African resources and contribute to environmental destruction, and strengthening intra-African trade to reduce dependency on Western economies. The broader vision is to foster self-reliance, ensuring that Africa determines its future rather than being at the mercy of external powers. A crucial part of this transformation is the removal of Western military bases, particularly those operated by the US and France, which serve as surveillance and control hubs rather than genuine security assets for African nations. By reclaiming military and economic independence, Africa can reshape its security landscape on its own terms. Ironically, the very sanctions imposed by the West on African nations have had unintended consequences. The assumption was that Africa could be sanctioned into submission while remaining within the sphere of Western influence. But the geopolitical landscape is shifting. Today, looming threats of new US sanctions under the leadership of Donald Trump are pushing African nations away from American influence and toward a new global alignment, one that prioritizes sovereignty and self-determination over subservience. When future historians analyze the global power struggle between the West and rising powers like Russia and China, they may conclude that Western leaders, including Donald Trump, fundamentally miscalculated Africa's potential to assert itself.